Hello, Justin Boyd, Liberty University. Going to cover a story of an individual in postbellum America. What I'm going to talk about is Andrew Carnegie. So Andrew Carnegie, what he did was he started the steel industry. So what we're going to talk about is postbellum first. Postbellum took place 1865 to 1900. The differences in the North, that's kind of where all the industrialization occurred. A lot of immigrants went up there, so they had the individuals for working. The South kind of stayed the same as to how it was during antebellum. And so Andrew Carnegie, what happened was he was born in Scotland, and they moved to America when he was 12 years old. Due to his family's hardship, he had to start working 12 hours a day in a cotton mill. So during that time, that kind of built up his way of work ethic. And then after the cotton mill, he went into work for the railroad company. And during this time, he was actually promoted to working as, it looks as if he was the Western Division. He was the superintendent of the Western Division of the Pennsylvania Railroad during this time, because he moved to Pennsylvania when he was 12 years old, went into the railroad industry, worked his way up as a teenager. And this is during antebellum during this time. But to get to the point of how it helps during postbellum, you kind of have to understand the antebellum side of understanding this. So during his time as a teenager, he was able to understand the benefits of being able to use organization of individuals in order to get the most amount of work done by using people in the right places. He was able to actually expand the railroad industry that he had with communication of individuals. So due to this, his uncle was a politician in Scotland. So as a kid, it kind of allowed him to understand how to communicate properly with people. And so he kind of utilized the techniques that he learned as a kid. So during this time, he had effective communication, understood exactly how to get the industry working. And then from there, after the Civil War, he started working for a bridge company. So in this bridge company, he started working with steel. Actually iron per se, and then steel. So the issue was they realized that steel was better than iron. Steel's stronger than iron. The problem is it's harder to make steel, and they didn't quite master it up to that point of the proper way of steel production to have it fast, efficient, cheaper, and allow it to be as safe as possible. There were a situation where a bridge collapsed using iron, so they wanted to start using steel. So it was at that point that he understood the smelting process of the Bessemer process. So there was Henry Bessemer of England that actually created the Bessemer process. In this, it actually takes pig iron and it takes pig iron and then basically oxidizes it to eventually become steel. So what happened was, it's not like Andrew Carnegie created the process. He was able to figure out the process in an efficient way and capitalized on that due to his connections with the railroad industry. So this is kind of a very unique time post-bellum, because it was an expansion within the United States to where the railroad industry was expanding, but they first started with iron and realized that it would be better with steel. So due to his connections with the railroad industry, he was able to utilize his steel industry to make it the most powerful steel industry, selling to the railroad companies. They replaced all their iron with his steel. They needed the expansion to go to the west. So it was not only that used for the railroad to expand the railroad, they used it in order to transport their products around too. So, and this is a time period where the founding fathers were farmers first and statesmen second. But this time in postbellum, this is one time where actually companies, large corporations were really coming to be in America. And what they were using is they were using their money and their basically influence on the statesmen at that time. So what he was doing was he was communicating with the individuals within his area of government in order to create tariffs, to where the steel coming from England or anywhere else actually had a tax put onto it, to where it was more expensive to bring in steel from England than it was to mass produce there. Very smart on his part. Whereas it's funny because he didn't have a proper education, but it was kind of one of those things where he learned on the job as a young kid the proper way to work hard and figure out what to do in order to basically become the industrialist that he became. This is a very unique time because the U.S. wouldn't have expanded the way that it did without the railroad industry, without the steel industry, and Thomas Edison, as soon as they created electricity. So it was a very unique time, very expansive time, but if everything didn't work the way it did, it wouldn't have expanded as quickly as it did. All right, thank you.